Hi everybody, Patricia Hetherington here. I'm giving you a bit more information about the Action on the Side project. Thank you for signing up. Now, with the Action on the Side project, we decide which film we're going to make, or which films, on Saturday. And then we have 1 week until we shoot. And during that week, we've got a whole bunch of pre-production to do. We've got to confirm our cast, we've got to confirm our crew and our crew roles, we've got to confirm our equipment and how we're transporting the equipment, and most importantly, we've got to find a location to shoot at. Now, a location for a short film can make or break the film. If you have a good location, it adds production value to the film. It makes the film look more professional, it makes the job easier for our art department because they have less to dress. Generally, a good location is very important to find. Now, with the Action on the Side projects, because we only have 1 week, location is something that we usually struggle with a bit. Often we don't confirm our location until Thursday and then we're shooting on Saturday. So, with the pitching moving to an earlier system where we do video logs and we pitch in advance, this week we're going to start thinking about what locations we have access to. Okay? Now, there are 2 different ways of doing locations. One of them is to go the guerrilla filmmaking route. And guerrilla filmmaking is when you go out and you shoot and you don't get any permits, you don't get permission, you just go out with your camera, with your cast, with your crew, onto the street and you shoot. And if anybody turns up and asks you to move and tells you you don't have permission, you just walk away and you can't use the footage generally. Or you use it and hope nobody notices. The other way is to make sure that you have something called chain of title. And chain of title is a way of showing that you have permission to use all the copyrighted material, that you had permissions for every aspect of the filmmaking, which means getting a location permit. And that's what we're working towards. Because as filmmakers, we should be working towards owning the rights to all the films and making sure that we have all the permissions. And that means that as the films get better and we start selling them or sending them out to film festivals, we can show that we have the chain of title. So what we're looking for is places that we can shoot where we can get permission to shoot. And this means somebody signing a location permit. So if we want to shoot out on the street in London, we have to contact Film London and get a permission to shoot, a location permit. They take 7 days. So we haven't done that previously with the Action on the Side projects. So generally what we do is we look for locations that we can shoot where we might not need to get a permit. I've done quite a number of short films, and the main locations that we always need for short films, for any short film, is a flat or an apartment. So quite often films have lounge, living room, bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, hallway, whichever. So access to a house or a flat or an apartment. A park, generally with a park bench, which comes into the whole permits thing. A cafe or restaurant, basically anywhere where 2 people can come together and chat over a coffee or a meal, go on a date, whatever, and an office. Those are the 4 main locations that usually we need for short films. There's also quite often people have scenes written on a bus or on the tube, which is problematic for different reasons. There might be something written in a car, so we might need somebody with a car, or a busy street, which again is the issue with location permits. Now, if we find a location that we want to use that is outdoors, like a park or a busy street, we can go to Film London and apply for something called a no-no, a notice of no objection, which costs £50, might take a week to process, but basically it is a document that says we give you, this is not a permission to shoot, but you can go and shoot. We have no objection for you shooting. There are certain rules like no more than 5 cast and crew, and you can't use a tripod, it has to be handheld, and you can't block traffic at all. If a police officer comes along and asks you to move, then you do have to move. You can't wave your no-no and say we have permission to shoot here. It just means that, I don't know, if anybody else comes along, you can say, well, Film London don't mind us being here. Look, I have a document, and usually they're fine with it. Now, this week, with the video pictures, I want you to think about which locations we need and are there any that you can offer. So, if potentially your flatmates are away during our production weekend and might allow us to shoot, or you might be happy for us to shoot at your place. Or maybe you work in an office, you might want to ask your manager, can we come in and shoot? Or you might work in a shop, can we come in and shoot, potentially. We don't know which film or films we're going to make. If we do want to shoot in a cafe or restaurant, maybe there's one that you go to that you know is quiet on a Saturday or Sunday during the day, or even closed. Maybe ask them, hey, if we were shooting a movie, is there any chance you might like us to come in and join you? Come in and shoot at your place. Or if there's a park near you, maybe have a quick walk around where you live and take a photo of some of the streets and the parks and see if there's anywhere that looks visually interesting where we might like to shoot. Now, for locations, what we're looking for is a place that's easy to access, so easy for us to get to. If it's way out in the far end of Heathrow, that might be a bit difficult for most of us to get to, so that's not ideal. But if it's somewhere on a tube line within zones 3 to 1, sure, we can get there. We want for places that have a base, okay? So if we're shooting in a park, we might find a park near to somebody's house, and then the house would be the base. That's where we'd put all the equipment, that's where makeup would be done, that's where the toilets are, and then we can easily carry the equipment to where we're shooting, okay? Basically, we're looking for places where we can set up base, where we can get permits, and where it's easy to access. So, have a think this week, see if there's anywhere that you can suggest where we might be able to film. To give you an idea, this is my house, and we have shot at least 3 short films here. And the problem is that it has white walls, which is something we'll discuss on the first weekend. But have a think, see if there's anywhere around you that you know of where we may be able to shoot, because we can start asking for permits now. Have a look around near you, and if you have any questions, please post them in the group. Thank you very much.